Hello there friends, CS News Live here. In today's video, PGL boycotts Esports Awards. T1, a huge esports team, is gonna enter CS2, and also CS2's Anniversary, and you know what, the biggest news of the recent shuffle days, S1MPLE into Falcons. And also a lot of other exciting news we've gotta cover. And in the end, as always, Blast matches review. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. And let's kick off today's episode with some roster changes. This time it's Faven, the former Bleed and BIG player, who's on the hunt for a new team. According to the player, he's open to offers from teams in the CIS region. This is largely because he has Kazakh roots and speaks Russian. Faven also mentioned that he's not ruling out offers from other regions, although there hasn't been much interested so far. And you know what guys, it feels like we might know where Faven could go. If we're not talking about the Eastern European offers, we should take a look at Asia, as T1 is planning to launch a CS2 division. The organization, well known for its rosters in League of Legends and Valorant, has decided to open a new team in the new discipline. According to insiders, the team is aiming for a Brazilian lineup, but there's no detailed information yet on who will join. To stay updated with the latest and most important news, don't forget to follow us on Twitter and also here, so just hit the like and subscribe button. And the link for our Twitter account is in the description. More on the topic of roster changes, we couldn't ignore one of the most talked about ones, but not the one you might think. First, let's talk about Astralis, who made their substitutions. But their performance at the first tournament was simply awful, both in terms of gameplay and rule compliance. If you don't know what we're talking about, just watch the previous episode where we covered the whole story and the whole scandal. So, following such a showing, the players began to explain the reasons behind the loss. For instance, Device mentioned that he came down with the flu, which made it difficult for him to play. Meanwhile, Kadian and others pointed out the lack of preparation with the new captain. Kadian also revealed that Astralis plans to utilize a double-AWP setup in matches, maximizing both his and Device's potential. However, still, statistically, this tournament turned out to be the worst for many players in their entire careers, as no one managed to break the 1.0 HLTV rating. More on the topic of Astralis, we couldn't skip Richard Lewis's latest statement, where he claimed that for most players, transitioning to the role of a captain is a mistake that worsens their stats and ruins the final years of their otherwise brilliant careers. He's primarily referring to stars who are forced to become captains. But what does it have to do with Astralis? Well, the analyst used Device as a prime example. According to him, many star players are put in the captain role because they're considered experienced enough to lead, but once they become captains, they need to focus more on the team than themselves. Richard Lewis also pointed out that such a player must be mentally strong, which he says can't be said about Device, who has taken multiple breaks due to depression and mental health issues. Perhaps Kadian was brought in specifically to avoid another break from the legendary Danish sniper. Unfortunately, players are sometimes forced into captain roles due to the current shortage of players willing to lead. And I mean, Richard Lewis has a point. If you really had a brilliant career as a player, you don't have to be the IGL because you are experienced, you know? This is a very specific and tough role that you have to be built for. Although saying these things about Device, I don't really know. Anyways, it's just his opinion, so if you want to discuss, do it in the comments below. Now, my friends, let's finally move on to the most exciting news. After Falcons' exit from Blast, their coach Zonek mentioned that they need roster changes, but no one expected them to happen so quickly. S1MPLE has been benched and S1MPLE has been brought in on loan for 3 months. According to HLTV, as of last week, Alexander was listed as a substitute for Falcons in their roster log for the RMR. This situation has sparked a lot of comments. First, Kazakh believes that bringing back S1MPLE is an interesting and great idea, but replacing S1MPLE might not be the best of moves. Because Spaniard is basically and statistically their best player. In fact, Kazakh has already suggested a new team for the sniper, believing that Heroic could be his next destination after after the RMR or the Major. Falcons captain expressed his gratitude to S1MPLE for playing with them, having played with him since their time in ENCE, and Snappy noted that S1MPLE was the best sniper he had ever played with. Nero, however, believes that signing s1mple won't solve the rifle issues and won't create a stable foundation for future success. He points out that the org seems to be focusing on big names rather than building a competitive lineup with younger, less known players. But bros, we all know why the Sheikhs do it, right? It's not for winning or for bringing up young players. Anyways, considering Nico is set to join the roster soon, the lineup could become insanely strong in terms of firepower. However, for s1mple and Nico to succeed together, Falcons need to start delivering results. Guys, who do you think will suit the new team together with s1mple and Nico? For example, will Snappy manage to take control of these two superstar players? Magisk is probably okay, but Madden? I don't know. For example, at Blast, Madden was super good. He was the only player to try something. Honestly, my friends, I don't really know what Falcons should do, because on paper this team is just unbelievably strong, but I don't know whether they can bring the results. If you have any ideas or opinions about Falcons' roster, just don't forget to write it in the comments below. And since we're on the topic of Sheikhs, we couldn't skip the Esports Awards, which recently announced a second round of awards, something that confused a lot of people. First, there was the Esports Journalist of the Year, because basically all the good journalists in the scene are against the Sheikhs, but let's skip this part. In case you didn't know, the main issue here is that the organizers of the Esports Awards are closely linked to the Sheikhs, and the objectivity of the voting process has been questioned many times. Both by great journalists like Richard Lewis, for example, as we mentioned in one of our previous videos, and by regular users. And some of them just got tired of this. For example, PGL, who decided not to participate in the ceremony. They withdrew totally. In their official statement, PGL wrote that despite the level and popularity of Esports Awards events, they are demanding to be removed from all the nominations where they were included, as they do not want to be associated with an event that has lost trust and no longer serves the original purpose. I mean, on one hand, I really doubt that PGL would have won something, but on the other hand, it's a big balls move. And of course, we couldn't miss talking about Valve's gift for the CS2 Anniversary. So guys, what are we getting for the year of CS2, the great day, the 27th of September? That's right, another update for Deadlock, a huge one where they've added a cool anti-cheat feature and a new character. In Deadlock, again, I repeat, that's not a mistake. I know guys, the other development team is working on Deadlock, not the same as on CS2, but nevertheless, our game remains untouched despite all the promises of a new operation, new mechanics, and the anti-cheat measures, none of which have materialized. There wasn't even a tweet about the game's anniversary. I remind you that since the game's release last year, 144 LANs were played and around 18,000 maps and $15 million of prize pool. Yet for our game's birthday, we get to watch players in Deadlock being turned into frogs for cheating, which has been a feature they wanted to implement in CS2, as said by one of the ex-Valve developers, with just only chickens instead of frogs. I mean guys, I get it all, I get that they have a new child, and Deadlock is honestly cool, I played it a lot and I like it, I really like it, but it's just sad, it's hurting my soul that we get nothing for CS2. I'm just offended, and that's why I'm so emotional, I'm sorry. I really love the game, and I don't see anything being done with it. I guess, happy birthday CS2, and let's move on, guys. Finally, before going to the matches, let's talk about how Spirit potentially can win the Major. I mean, what they lack. Samphis gave his thoughts on this, saying that Magix and Chopper need to improve their aim, and Xantix needs to learn to make better decisions throughout the round. Aside from that, the team has the best rifler and the best passive sniper in the world, but they tend to fall apart when something goes wrong, which often leads to losing rounds out of nowhere. Unfortunately, unfortunately, that's true because many have pointed out that some Spirit players lack firepower, but for now, the Dragons haven't been able to fix it. And the major is pretty soon, so I just hope that they will fix everything. And now, finally guys, let's look through some matches. Since we started talking about Spirit, let's take a look at their playoff match against G2 at Blast. It all kicked off on Dust 2, Spirit's map pick. The first half was incredibly even, with both sides constantly trading rounds or taking turns in streaks, leading to a fair tie by halftime. However, after the side switch, the game took on a new dynamic. Snacks won the pistol round by clutching a 1v2, and in the next round, Nico secured a quadro kill with a UMP on short. Spirit responded with 2 rounds of their own, but G2 managed to pull together a streak of 4. The final nail in the coffin was Melb's ace, which he achieved with the only AK on the team. As the player himself shared later, having the responsibility of carrying the weapon in a round where the rest of the team is broke means you have to deliver at your best, and I can't agree more. Next up was Mirage, G2's pick. Once again, Melbs was on fire, securing a quadro kill in the pistol round. I love this guy. However, after the first 2 rounds, G2 started to face problems. They dropped almost 5 in a row and then followed by another streak of 3. So Spirit won the first half 8-4. Things got worse for G2 after the side switch, as Spirit won the first round and the force buy. But G2 didn't want to surrender that easily. They produced an incredible comeback, winning nearly 7 rounds in a row, pushing the game into the overtimes, where they ultimately destroyed the Dragons. So in the end, Team Spirit heads home and G2 will face Vitality in the next match. The second match featured the classic showdown between Faze and Liquid. The first map was Inferno, Faze's pick. The game started off in a back and forth and both teams were trading rounds. But Faze pulled it together and won 5 in a row. They could have kept winning it if it weren't for JKS, who slowed them down. With an incredible ace, I have to admit. However, after the side switch, that didn't stop Faze from dominating, as they took another 4 rounds in a row, reaching the map point, and then they easily closed out the map. Next was Mirage, Liquid's pick. There's honestly not much to describe here, as it felt like Liquid just didn't show up on the server. In the first half, they barely managed to win a single round. In the second half, though, they started with a pistol round and a force buy win, but the comeback never happened. Faze secured the second map and sent Liquid home. So Faze Clan will meet Navi. And now let's jump straight to the semi-finals, starting with the match between G2 and Vitality. The first map was Anubis, G2's pick, and things didn't start off well for the Samurai. After winning the pistol round, they lost 3 in a row. However, once they had the economy to buy, the game took a different turn. G2 won 3 consecutive rounds and pulled ahead slightly, but then lost the series of 4 with Vitality playing on defense. This basically meant that after the side switch, Vitality would move to the stronger T side, where they continued to dominate, obviously, bringing the score to 10-5. G2 tried to mount a comeback, winning 3 rounds, but they couldn't hold on and eventually just lost their own map pick. Next up was Dust 2, Vitality's pick, a map they had only lost to Navi recently and no one else. And it started with initial dominance from Vitality as they took 3 rounds in a row. G2 responded with a 3-round streak of their own, and that's when Vitality decided to reveal their secret tactic by giving the AWP to their captain. And you know what, guys? Apex didn't disappoint, securing a triple kill and winning the round for his team. It was an amazing highlight. It was the end of the first half. G2 pulled themselves together and won 4 consecutive rounds, with Nico standing out. He pulled off an incredible triple kill on mid. His reaction speed was unbelievable. After the side switch, Vitality needed to do something to get back into the game, and that's when Mezzi stepped up. He delivered a quadro kill in the pistol round. However, just a few rounds later, Mezzi made a disastrous mistake when he failed to kill m0NESY, who hadn't even seen him, which allowed the G2 sniper to clutch a 1v3. And from that point on, G2 didn't drop a single round to their opponents, pushing the match to Mirage, the decider. And you know what, guys? The last map might be just considered the most exciting one at this whole Blast event. It all kicked off with a triple triple kill from Nico in the pistol round, where he patiently waited for his opponents before taking them down. But in the very next round, ZywOo responded with a triple of his own during a force buy. The game was insanely close, with both teams trading rounds back and forth. In the final round of the first half, Snacks won a 1v2 clutch, and it was amazing. After the side switch, Vitality started strong, winning 3 consecutive rounds before facing a true raid boss. Nico nearly pulled off a 1v5, and after losing a duel to Apex, he slammed his fist on the table with such force that he broke both the arm and the table.
What a play. God damn, he hits that table hard. Who can blame it? Yo, okay! Collateral damage. The table's gone down, Anders. In all my years, I've never seen that, and justified, I think. He hit it with some force. Oh my god, he's bleeding. We got blood for the first time.
This led to a technical pause, and a medic had to attend Nico, patching him up. By the way, G2 received 3 penalty points for this incident, and if they get 2 more, they could be disqualified from the match. So they basically had to control their temper, and I honestly can't imagine doing that because it was so emotional. But well, back to the game. Even this didn't help the Samurai to find their footing. Vitality read G2 perfectly, defending side A flawlessly and reaching the match point. But G2 were determined to fight back, managing to stage a comeback miraculously and push the game to overtimes. In OTs, Nico continued to terrorize Vitality. He won a crucial 1v3 in the second round of extra time. In the following round, Hunter and Nico nearly pulled off a 2v5. Ultimately, this all led to G2's 16-14 victory, as the Samurai secured their place in the finals. And here I just want to mention ZywOo, who was absent the whole second half of the map. I don't know what happened to the French guy, but he just wasn't there. After the match, there was a funny moment where Nico was given the broken table as a trophy, and he walked around the arena with it for a while. Manesi also shared a photo of Kovac's mouse, showing traces of his blood. I mean, guys, in the truest sense, G2 fought their way to the finals with blood and sweat. The other semi-final was a clash between Navi and Faze. It all kicked off on Inferno, Faze's pick. Navi immediately showcased their strength on City side, with Ime pulling off impressive quadro kills, while Faze struggled to string together any round. After a few more rounds, Brokey and Kerrigan managed to win a crucial 2v4, bringing Faze back into the game, but not for long, to be honest. Navi regained control and secured 3 consecutive rounds at the end of the half, giving them a commanding lead. After switching sides, Navi extended their advantage with 2 more rounds. However, Faze wasn't ready to back down. They mounted an impressive comeback, leveling the score to 10-10. At this point, a technical pause was called, and players were asked to step away from their PCs. After a 30-minute break, the game resumed, and Faze managed to close out the map, taking their pick. Next up was Ancient, picked by Navi. The early dominance was on Faze's side, but at 3-0, Navi found a way to break through. However, their struggles continued, and they only managed to win another round at 5-1 when Wonderful and JL pulled off an impressive 2v4. This, though, didn't help Navi much, as they ended the first half 4-8. After the side switch, Faze won both the pistol round and the force buy, but once Navi had the economy to fight back, they started doing it. They took 8 consecutive rounds and closed out the second map in their favor. The final round was single-handedly won by Wonderful, with many comparing it to Simple's iconic clutch. It was truly wonderful.
A bit of a pickle. Turn that corner. Away. He hits himself to no scope, and that bomb's out in the open. Wonderful tap. No way! Looking through the hourglass, he hits.
And the decider was Anubis. And you know what, guys? Frankly, that's all that can be said about this map, because Navi simply demolished Faze with a crushing 13-2 score. It was pure domination, a complete blowout with little to no resistance from Faze. Total destruction is the only way to describe it. Well, you get it. And now, guys, we look ahead for the grand finals, Navi versus G2. The battle will be legendary. And that That's all for today, my friends. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. It really helps us to develop. Thank you again. We're not saying goodbye for a long time. See you soon.